Hey there, it's Rachel. I'm a photographer and I take pictures of myself by myself using my tripod. There are a lot of videos out there showing you how to do that and how to take your own pictures, but I really think editing is the most important part. Anybody can take a photo, whether it's with their phone or a really nice DSLR camera, but it's the editing that will really change the photo and really make it unique. So let me walk you through my process for how I retouch my photos. You can use this for any portrait out there, whether it's of yourself or somebody else, but I will show you how I fix some of my skin, some blemishes, add some makeup, fix the hair and light and shadows and things like that. So little tips and tricks you can use to really make your portraits pop. So let's take a look at how I do it. This was a photo shoot I took a couple days ago just in my room, and I got an image that I decided I wanted to edit. So this is it. This is in the Lightroom desktop application. I'll go through the quick edits that I do just to show. This image is pretty warm. Exposure up, highlights whites down, shadows blacks up. Dehaze goes up, so there's a bit more clarity in the image. Vibrance up, saturation down. They balance each other out. I have adjusted the curves already to my liking. Saturation and luminance I'm not going to touch a whole lot of, except I will probably bring down the yellow. That's typically the color of my wall, so I want to take out as much yellow as possible. Orange, I'm not going to do too much of, otherwise it'll start desaturating my hair, so I'll do that later in Photoshop. I don't touch split toning, sharpening, don't worry about it, and I think we're pretty good. And I won't go through how I've done the calibration here because it's very finicky, but I've adjusted that as well. So these are my basic Lightroom edits. I'm happy with the colors. It's pretty standard to what I usually have going on, but I'm gonna pull this into Photoshop now. We will start retouching. Okay, I have my image in Photoshop now and I can start retouching. First thing I'm gonna do every single time is copy the background layer. Just so in case you mess up or really do something wrong, you've always got that backup just in case. So first thing I like to do is crop the image down to to Instagram's ratio, which is 4:5. I actually like that, that's pretty good. Typically, if it's more of a full body shot, I'll try to expand the landscape behind me, but I don't have much of a landscape here. It's more of just a glamour shot, so up close is just fine. So I'm happy with that now. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add another layer. Actually, first thing I'm going to do is Liquify. This is my favorite tool. You can't see it, but I've gone to the filter setting and I've clicked on Liquify. This is where you can adjust your face. I know apps will do it for you. They'll adjust eye size and shape and naturally beautify you, and there's even this one app that I use sometimes where you can shrink your head, and I'm a big head, so it's actually really cool, but I'm not going to do that here. I'm just going to keep my big head. However, I am going to reduce the size of my chin just slightly, like not that much, that's crazy. I do have a rather large chin, so I will bring that up just a tiny bit. Still looks natural. That's what I think I look like, but apparently not, so I have a big chin. That looks good. Sometimes, and I'm sorry to admit to this, I will chisel my jawline a little bit. So I'm gonna bring this up just a smidge. There we go. I love myself. You should love yourself, but for photography, I think of it as an art, so why not make it as perfect as possible? So I don't feel ashamed, you shouldn't either. Now this is my favorite thing to do, is with hair. And with curly hair, it's even easier to do because it's going all over the place anyway, but I'm taking this drag icon, this drag forward warp tool, and I'm gonna follow the flow of my hair. So I'm gonna just go with how it's already naturally looking, but I'm going to enhance it a bit. So I'm gonna pull those curls out and make them more curly. I'm gonna make it more voluptuous. So I've put in a lot of hairspray. I'm just adding some more in. And there we go. No one's gonna know, it's not a big deal, honestly. Again, everything should be very, very subtle so that it looks natural. You don't wanna go really wonky with it. Like, I can tell that's been messed with. Don't do that. Control-Z it. But it is a bit straight, so if I just add a little bit, it looks okay. And you know, curves go two directions, so there's a curve this way, but then also curves back, so do that with the waves that you're following. And if your hair is straight, you know, I bet there's some pieces you can straighten up if you want, or add some more flow, or whatever it is, but little enhancements really go a long way. It's all in the details. Especially when you're doing like glamour portrait shots that are just, you know, pretty much your face. A lot of focus is going into the details on your face, your hair. You don't have a background that you're working with, so it's all right here. Might as well make it look good. So I'm pretty okay with this. I think I'm happy, and I could do a lot more, but no big deal. So I'm just gonna push OK and let that save. So now you can see, because we copied that layer, we can see the difference. I'm still the same person, just with a smaller chin and curvier hair, but it really does enhance it. So already this is looking really, really good. Okay, so that layer I created earlier, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the blend mode to overlay. I don't know the exact science behind this, but a lot of tutorials will tell you to use overlay. It's pretty magical, because you'll see what happens. And again, subtlety, very important. Bring that opacity down pretty far. And we can adjust that later. That was just a random number that I chose, but I don't want what I'm about to do to be really insane. So let me increase the brush. Basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through and enhance the colors that are already there. Like I said, don't be changing things out of whack, just work with what you've got. I can see a lot of warm tones in my face, in my makeup. Obviously my hair is warm toned. I have a light coming in from the right side, if I'm looking at this. So I'm gonna take that into account. And so I've got highlights on one side, shadows on the other. So you're just kind of looking at the image and taking what you have to work with. So on this overlay layer, what I like to do is I'll typically grab colors that are already in the picture. That way I'm not introducing new colors that aren't naturally there. It's gonna really help make it all look like I took this in a studio and it was like my natural makeup, whatever it may be. Alright, so my brush is a soft airbrush, very subtle, nothing too harsh. I've even turned the opacity down on my brush itself, so everything is going to be extremely subtle and maybe too much. I can always turn it down later. So I'm adjusting, or I'm throwing in this orange color. You can see wherever I put it, I'll just put it all over my face real quick, you can see how orange that becomes. That's obviously way too much. So I'm going to make sure to concentrate it. What's going on? I can't delete. There we go. So I'm only going to put it in areas that I want that extra color, which is going to be makeup, very subtly blush. I'm just gonna like tap the trackpad here, or mouse, whatever you're using. So you're not going to just add a bunch of extra color there. I do like to go over my hair. Yes, I make it more red. I already dye it, so I'm not gonna be ashamed of that. Okay. So that's just the orange color. I'm gonna pick up a darker color down here and enhance some of the shadows. So I'm gonna go over the shadowed spots. Again, that's a little too light, can't see it. So I'm gonna up the opacity. There we go. So I'm gonna crease these shadows where shadows already exist. So I'm just going to be kind of manually increasing the contrast. And again, like I said, there's light from the right, dark on the left. So keeping the shadows to the right will follow that natural pattern. Anyway, okay, that's looking good. Now let's take like a grayish tone, kind of like that, like my skin, and put it in the spots that I want extra highlighted. Oh, and you can totally zoom in. That probably would make your life easier too. So right on the nose, above the eyebrow, and this, you're just going to follow the typical patterns of makeup and what areas are supposed to be highlighted. So typically highlights are in the corners of the eyes, the tip of the nose, the top of the lips, and your chin, and sometimes your forehead, and again the cheekbones. So these are the spots that you want to highlight, and it'll make your make the face really stand out. And honestly, the same rules apply for male portraits. So if it's a picture of a guy, or your guy, or whatever, same rules kind of apply. I would hide the highlights in the same places. Alright, we're almost done here. That's a little too dark. I actually want to add a highlight to the eyes. I don't want to take too long either, because I don't want this video to be a whole hour long. Is that doing anything? Hello? That's really subtle. Okay, we'll try something else on a different layer. Again, I don't have like perfect rules for all of these things. I kind of just make it up as I go. But I do the same thing almost every time. Okay, at this point, I've kind of adjusted some lights and shadows and color in my face. I'm actually gonna go back to that layer I had duplicated, create a layer above it, and on this layer, I'm going to fix my blemishes using the clone tool. This is a trick I learned in high school. I've also watched some skin retouching videos that show how to do this, and they all use kind of a similar technique. So this is my way of doing it. Got the clone tool. I have on, I would say anything below 30% is safe. This picture is very high quality. You can zoom in, you can see all my pores and nose hairs and my mustache and literally everything, so a little uncomfortable. You know, wrinkles, so great, it's all there. I'm not going to change it too much. Like I said, don't go unnatural. Don't just make the whole face plastic. But if there's some areas that you want to fix, blemishes, wrinkles, maybe do that. So I'm going to pick up a color close to the area that I'm already fixing and just go right on top of that. And what it's doing is it's sampling that spot and stamping it, clone stamping it onto the spot that I choose. So I'm just sampling, stamping, sampling, stamping. And I could do this for hours, honestly, probably. And the nice thing about this is it does maintain some of that skin texture, so I'm not just like, you know, taking this brush tool and, you know, painting over my skin. That's never gonna look good. I'm just taking what is already there, like I've been saying a million times, and working with it, not introducing in anything new. Unless that's your prerogative, I'm not gonna say no. So what I'm doing is I'm just removing some of the complexity of my face. I have a very, like, I don't know how to explain this. Like, my face isn't very flat. I notice models have very flat faces with not many curves, and they're just very, like, angular. I just have a lot of bumps and things, so I like to kind of smooth it out a little bit. I don't know how to explain that. And it gets worse with like my age, so ugh. Okay, that's, honestly, it's not that big of a deal. I can just leave it. Okay. And as I'm working, I'm kind of zooming out and zooming in. Zooming out helps you get kind of a far off overall look. It's easier to see where shadows are. If you're zoomed in, it's really hard to kind of see where everything is and compare to the rest of it. So if I'm like zoomed into here, it's kind of hard to tell over this big area where the shadow is. If I zoom out, I'm like, oh, obviously there's like this line here. So, little tip. Okay, just gonna fix a little bit more. I also have these big old chipmunk cheeks, so I like to kind of smooth that out as well. I'm going to leave the pores because I don't mind them. And I'm also going to leave my eye wrinkles because I also don't mind them. So I'll go ahead and leave those. I'm going to smooth out some of this highlight so it's not so harsh. That was a mistake on my makeup. So I'm just gonna smooth it out, fix it up a little bit, and I think a little bit more right on that edge there. It's kind of a harsh edge. Okay, zooming out. Ah, there we go. Oh, and when I zoomed out, I noticed I got this like weird dark spot, so let me just grab a bit of that area. Again, just sampling what's already there and fixing it. And then we're gonna smooth out the eyeshadow. And some dark spots. Okay, it's not perfect, but I know I said you should try to make it perfect, but I'm taking that back. I don't think it needs to be. Yep, I like that. Okay. So that is the face retouching. I'm not gonna do anything else. We can move on. I finished retouching the skin on my face, and I have colored some of the makeup and hair and really enhanced those spots. Now I'm actually going to add a bit more makeup, but this is going to be fake makeup. So I'm making a new layer. I pretty much make a new layer for every new adjustment type thing I'm going to do, just so I can keep them all separate and control them later on if I want to delete them completely or whatever it may be. So I've got this eyelash brush that I've downloaded. I am able to adjust the angle of it, so because my head is turned, I need to adjust that angle, and that looks pretty good. My eyes aren't quite as curved as this tool is, so I do tend to flatten it out just so it pretty much matches. And then, as usual, grab a color that is nearby. Oh, I had that on the wrong brush. Redo, resize, turn, flatten, and drop. Okay, so that's kind of light. Let me opacity up, and let me pick an even darker color. So I could try that dark actually. Okay, yeah, there we go. All right, so there's that one, and then we're gonna flip it over the axis and do it on the other side. Ta-da! Eyelashes. I hate wearing fake eyelashes, so the fact that I can just add them in virtually, I'm like, why not? Rather not torture myself. And on this picture, I'm going to go ahead and add the bottom lashes because why not? You know? Why not? Alright, right about, yay. Nope, too low, just kidding. Right there. Maybe a little higher. That looks good. If you notice, eyelashes are not perfectly on the line of your eye. There's a waterline there, and then the eyelashes come out. So when you're doing adjustments and things, try to take note of those little details, and it'll look so much better. Another thing to note is that nobody is perfectly symmetrical, and therefore my eyelashes are not going to be perfectly symmetrical, so I'm going to take off a little bit in random places on both eyes. I know it's kind of weird, no one will probably notice, but this is just something I like to do. And don't feel so bad about adding it on. Okay, there we go. See, I've added just a little bit of makeup there, and now my eyes are popping. I like it. Okie doke, what do we want to do next? I want to bring out the brightness in those earrings some more. Even though I already adjusted the color in a different layer, I'm going to create yet another layer, and you can probably label these, I'm just too lazy to do that. But on this layer, I'm going to do pretty much the same thing I did, so I'm going to go to, actually, I'm not going to go to overlay. I'm going to go to normal first. And I'm going to go to the brush tool, change it from the eyelash to my airbrush. I almost never use any other brush besides the airbrush tool when I'm retouching. I'm going to grab one of these pretty bright colors, and I'm just going to color over it. I can see where I've painted, but now I'm just going to use the bottom arrow and just go through these blending options until I see something I like. They are going to be all pretty crazy, but it does give me an idea of what I can possibly do. So I like this one. That really brightens it up. And then I just bring down the opacity on the layer to about there. And bada bing, not so bad. So then I can just kind of erase where I don't want that crazy brightness. It's maybe not on my entire thing. And then add it in just certain spots to the rest of the earrings. So I'm gonna go where the highlights already are and increase them. Same thing on this one. So, oop, I don't want on the background, just on the earring. Go there. That might be a little much actually. Bring it down. There we go. And then right on the edge here, just kind of following the highlight on the right side of the earrings. Right there, right here. Click, 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 click. And there we go. Okay, cool. That looks awesome. See? Now they're really shiny. Okay, Earrings look great. Oh, okay. So on this layer, and I know I said to make a new layer for every new type of adjustment, but because this color dodge is doing a great job of highlighting, I'm just gonna stay on this layer and try to do the corner of those eyes. I was trying to do it on the layer that was overlay. It wasn't showing up enough for me, so I'm gonna do it here. So like I said, highlight those few spots on the face, corner of the eyes, tip of the nose, forehead, edge of the eyebrows, cheeks, blah blah blah. So very subtly. And I can always go back and fix these spots. And the chin. Okay, that is a shiny face. We take that down a little bit. Big brush. Tap, 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 tap. Okay, it's okay to be kind of shiny. Oh, this is looking good. Alright, same layer. Since I like it so much, I'm just gonna tap on those highlighted spots on the rest of my body, even into the hair, because it is going to grab those highlights up in there and enhance them. So I'm, low opacity brush, low opacity layer, just very subtly adding it everywhere I want. And hair can look really glossy really fast, so be careful. Alright, and a little bit over here. Great. And I just noticed I have a little bit of dandruff on my jacket, so let's get rid of that. I'm gonna go to that layer that I had the clone stamp on, do exactly that I did for the skin. However, since this is a jacket, I can just do 100%, who cares? Just grab some of that jacket and color over it. There's a lot of other tools I could have used, like the Band-Aid tool or something, but this is just my habit, so that's what I go for. Okay, still a little bit more lint, Jesus. Alright, that's fine. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's just Instagram. Okay, I did just notice this little spot. Honestly, we could leave it, nobody would care, but I'm going to fix it. New layer. And I think for this, there's a lot of different ways I could fix it, but I guess I'll just lasso this little section. I'm just gonna kind of pick it like that. And I'm gonna grab it, drag this selection up so I can get what's already there. This may or may not work actually. Duplicate it from the original layer so I have that skin chunk and drag it over that. And then since it's still a little too light, I'm just gonna darken. Wow, it's really dark. Okay, I just clicked a million times, but see? If you knew it was there, you might spot it, but no one will, so it's our little secret. Okay, I think that's good for that face. One last thing we could do. Edit fill. 50% gray. Okay. Change that layer to overlay. But instead, we're going to dodge and burn. Because it is 50% gray, if I lighten anything, it's a highlight. If I darken anything, it's a shadow. So this is really cool because I'm just going to go over the spots I want to highlight and shadow without actually doing it on top of the photo itself. I'm going to turn this up probably 12%. It is pretty intense. You can see I'm barely doing anything and it's super highlighting things. But again, we can turn this layer down so it's not so insane. Alright, I'm not going to do too much. Highlight inside the eyes. That's always important as well. Not too crazy. That looks fine. Right there, there, boop, boop. Okay, highlights are fine. I actually want to do this for shadowing though. So, follow the shadows. Definitely the jawline. Really makes, if you darken jawlines, it brings out the face. And this just adds again some more contrast, you know, because why not? I really hate using contrast sliders on apps and Lightroom. It doesn't do it right. You'd want to be able to manually select where you want the darkening and lighting, not just everywhere. Okay, I like that. Cool. One more layer. let's fix the background. You don't really have to. It's not that bad, honestly. So select color range. I drop the background. Cool. It's fine that it's selecting my skin too. I don't really care. I'm going to desaturate it. So I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments. Wait, no. I'm gonna go down here, select the photo layer, and add an adjustment layer above it. That is hue and saturation. Bring down the saturation. And although it did it to my skin, I have this layer here that is a mask, so I'm just going to paint over the places that I don't want it to apply to, which is my skin at 100%. Because I really don't want it desaturating my skin. I want to be my normal color. Okay. Nice. Now that is our change. Alright, last but not least, I'm going to sharpen the image. I could have done this at the beginning, I kind of forgot, but there's this cool trick on the Mac. You do Command, Option, Shift E, and it blends all those layers together into one. So now I have one image with all of these things in it, and I can sharpen this one, and this will be my final image. So I'm gonna go onto those spots that are bright and really sharpen them up. I typically will follow my face outline. I don't think you can really tell too much, but I do it anyway. Always want to do the eyes are the focus. Sometimes on the nose. I'll follow any harsh, sharp lines in the image itself. So if that might be a color, the outline of your body, maybe if there were some flowers or some cool foliage around me, I might sharpen those up because they're closest to the focal point, and then everything else outside of that can be blurry. And it adds that cool portrait effect that we all love. Okay, again, not too much. So there we go. Now if we want, let me grab all of these together and we can see it before and after. So, before, after. And then we can see the before and after from the raw image. This is before, after. Before, after. Honestly, it doesn't look like I did a whole lot. It doesn't look much different than the first image, and I totally could have posted that one, but you just do a little extra work, really make those highlights pop, crisp it up, and it can really change your photography and your portraiture. Well, that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something new. I know you all learned that I fix my face a bit every time, including my giant chin, which I am still proud of. I don't care. I also don't care about the bump in my nose. And whatever you have, you shouldn't care about either. But for the sake of photography, I think it's okay to tweak things here and there. I'm going to have more editing videos coming out eventually. Maybe teach you guys some more things that you can try now in your photography. Okay, bye.